My name is Danilo DeStefano. I did my final project on film versus short story comparison of Langston Hughes. My name is Danilo DeStefano. I did my final project on film versus short story comparison of Langston Hughes' Cora Unashamed, and the film version was directed by Deborah Pratt in 2000. To give background on what the story is about, for those who haven't read it nor watched the film, Cora Unashamed is a short story that was written by Langston Hughes. The story follows a black housekeeper. Her name was Cora. Cora worked for a white family in a small Midwestern town. As the story goes on, she faces inequality, and the story really emphasized her strength and compassion. Through her experiences, themes of racism, sacrifice, and moral courage for knowing what's right comes at a personal cost is very evident throughout the story. So for my initial thoughts, I thought the film was a very great adaptation of the story. I thought it stayed very accurate to the story's main themes. It highlighted all of the themes that were in the story, that were especially related to racism, motherhood, and sacrifices, just like the story did. Yes, it obviously expanded on the story by adding new scenes since it was way longer, and it also stretched existing themes. But I also thought it was done right, and it made it very emotionally connected to. It made the viewer very emotionally connected to Cora, to make the story feel much more real. The first major difference I picked up on in the movie is there's so much more of Cora's background than in the story. In the reading, it's just briefly and shortly mentioned that Cora had her own daughter, when the author simply wrote, "One April morning, the kid was born. She had gray eyes, and Cora called her Josephine after Joe." The film, however, spent much more time showing Cora's actual relationship with Joe and the loss of her daughter, which honestly helped me understand this story much better and improved my knowledge of Cora's character. I really like this aspect of the film because I think it made the themes way stronger, due to portraying Cora and Jesse's connection to be strong. Also, watching Jesse grow up being connected with Cora really emphasized my previous point, and it showed that Cora had the motherhood aspects of showing who she was, which made Jesse's death much more heartbreaking and impactful because of how important she was to Cora, and Cora was to her. Another huge difference, which I'll also elaborate more on later, that stood out to me was Cora's emotions were presented in facial expressions, tone of voice, and behavior. Now, obviously, you can't really read some of these, which is why there are benefits to a film adaptation, but the story still did a great job at getting readers to understand Cora's emotions through thoughts and dialogue. I specifically thought that Regina Taylor did an excellent performance at portraying these emotions. Instead of hearing her thoughts like in the reading, specifically at the funeral, we get to see her facial expressions until she finally speaks out. I think doing this is a great way to portray Cora's emotions visually instead of reading about them. The last major difference that I'll go over in my presentation is the pace of the ending of the story versus the movie. In the short story, Jessie's pregnancy, the family's decision, and her death happen pretty fast before Cora speaks up at the funeral. Specifically, at the funeral, Cora states, "Honey, I want to say something," and then shortly after that, the story is wrapped up. The movie slows everything down much more in depth when showing Jesse's struggle and the family wanting to protect their reputation. I think stretching the ending definitely cleared up any confusion that I previously had, because when I was reading it, there was just kind of a lot going on all at once, especially the first time I read it, and it just confused me. I also touched on this in my second difference, but the performance of Regina Taylor was excellent as Cora. She did an amazing job with her facial expressions and emphasizing the emotions that were present at specific times throughout the story. As I just said, I thought her performance was great, and it matched almost perfectly to the story. The use of, for cinematic techniques, they used certain lighting and close-up camera angles to kind of allow the viewer to notice the change of Cora's emotions, and also the change of scenes. This aspect made her emotions much more powerful, I felt, and as they were like really highlighted. I'm going to conclude my presentation with my opinion of the film. As I've said before, I thought it was a great film. I really enjoyed it. If I were to give it a rating out of 5 stars, I would give it a 4.7, honestly. I gave it such a high rating because I thought it stayed very, very faithful to the short story. It added a bunch of stuff onto it, which was super interesting. It didn't feel like at any point that they were just like really stretching it. I felt like everything like fell into place, and like everything, the flow of the movie was very good. There was no points where I was like, oh, after reading it, I was like, there was no point where I was like, this is very stretched and this is just seems like they're trying to get the most out of a scene. Everything felt natural and it was super powerful and impactful. So yeah, thank you so much.